as we would like, but I've got to say that I thought the players done a great job in trying to be organised, disciplined, structured in a way that we would try and make it hard for them, and we've done it for long periods. But they move the ball so well. They advance the ball every time they move it. They advance it. They put you on the back foot so many times. But there was lots of really good defensive moments in the first half where we had to defend when it looked as if they were in. But overall, I'd have liked it to play much better, especially with the ball and also on the counter-attack when we had a few opportunities and we didn't take them.
Yeah, you did spring a couple of times in the second half and you just felt something might happen.
Well, we always felt we had an opportunity that could happen, and we'd work towards that. But I thought that when we got it, our quality, either our pass or our ball wasn't good enough, or we gave it away when we were just about to try and set up a move. But it's because of the level of the opposition you're playing. You're playing against a top team, and that's what they are.
In terms of this battle to stay in the Premier League, are you literally game by game, or is it a points total or a target that you're setting your players over the next few weeks?
I think all of them. What you say, we all know roughly that 40 points has tended to keep you in the Premier League, but we also know that we're in a period of a couple of really difficult games. Do we take something out of it? We've also got to consider goal difference might be involved come the end of the season. So all those things have to come into my thoughts. Ultimately, what I really need to do is get 3 points, but it was always going to be a tough task tonight.
And just finally, Jarrod Bowen got some minutes tonight. How big a role would you like him to play between now and the end of the season?
I'd like him to play a big role, but I've kept saying several times in a few interviews, I've had a few of the boys in the Championship, and they quite often take just a little bit of time. And I don't want there to be loads of pressure on the boy to come and help us and make all the difference, because we've got some very big players here, big international players. But I hope that he can get the goals that he's got for Hull City. He's looked sharp, he's looked quick in training. I thought he'd done very well tonight in the 10 or 15 minutes he was on. So I'm hoping that in the coming months he can help us, but again, I'm trying not to put too much pressure on him.
Thanks for your time.
Cheers, thank you.
Thanks, David.
Cheers, Gary.
James, it was always going to be a difficult evening for David Moyes. What would he have taken away from that game today?
Bit of fitness for the players, I suppose, and like you said, he set out a game plan. They pretty much in open play, sort of, got away with it, if you like. I know Man City had chances, but it was always going to be a tough evening. And like I said, if it had been 3, 4, 5 goals they had conceded, that could have had a knock-on effect to the games coming. But to keep it down to 2, I think you can be reasonably happy.
It begs the question: could he have done any more?
Well, yes, he could have gone about it a totally different way. Let's get it right. West Ham have spent an awful lot of money. They've got the likes of Haller on the bench, Lanzini on the bench, Felipe Anderson, Yarmolenko they spent a lot of money on. Of course, he wasn't involved today. But you've got so much talent there and they've spent so much money. Of course they could go the other way and play a more adventurous way. And to be honest, I get it tonight, but I'm very disappointed if David Moyes, when they're playing at home against some of the lesser teams, if he doesn't go and play the way, they've almost structured their club to play now, because they haven't gone and bought these players that are very rigid and very, structured in their game. They're buying this type of player. So now you've made your bed, you've got to go and lie in it, and you've got to go and play these players.
You see, that's a good point. Haller, Bowen, Anderson, between them cost £109 million. Some West Ham fans might say, if we're going to go down, we should go down fighting. But as you know, David Moyes, is he a cautious manager, if anything?
Yeah, I'd say certainly tonight. I think, in my opinion, he had to be. I don't think coming to Man City tonight and going all guns blazing and trying to beat them and scoring 3, 4 goals against them was the way forward. The position West Ham are in, I think they have got the players to do that in certain games, but I don't think tonight was one of them. I think he fully knows that if they'd come here and played an expansive, open game of football tonight, they would have got beaten, and then that has a knock-on effect to Monday night at Anfield. So I think he played it right, and like I said, they almost did a good job, apart from the few chances Man City created and the 2 goals they did concede.
And talking of Liverpool, and as to what's coming on beyond, of course, that trip to Anfield on Monday, those fixtures, couldn't get much harder really at this stage of the season, particularly when you're down there in the relegation zone. After Southampton, they've got Arsenal, Wolves, Tottenham and Chelsea. Anything shy of maybe not taking a point today I suppose they've come away not so psychologically scarred going into those group of games.
No, that's exactly right. You know, you look at those games, that's as tough as running as of any of the teams that are down there. And, you know, Liverpool next, like I said, there'll be some tired bodies tonight. The amount of work, even though they've lost 2-0, it sounds a bit crazy to say. You know, the amount of effort and work they put in to stop Man City, you know, it's going to take a lot of recovery and then go into Anfield. We all know how Liverpool are playing in a minute, and the rest of the fixtures are just as hard.
Michael?
Well, when you consider they've just played Liverpool and Manchester City, it doesn't get much harder than that. The next half dozen games are very tricky. If they can get anything out of those, then it frees up. The last few games of the season are winnable. And they're going to have to win them. That's the point, because I can't see them getting too many points out of that lot.
Well, they are in the same situation as they were, unsurprisingly, going into the game at the Etihad. 1 point from safety, 12 games left. How worried are you about the predicament that your former club's in right now?
I'm very worried.
And looking at that run.
Yeah, I'm very worried. You look at the next, like we just looked at, 6 or 7 games. You know, you maybe pick out Southampton at home. There's a must-win. If they don't get maximum points out of that, you know, it doesn't look great at all. And you know, for the players they signed in the summer and the money they've spent, you know, it's a terrible position for them to be in. But unfortunately, the football hasn't been good enough this season.
You'd be staggered, wouldn't you? In the next 6 games, you'd be staggered. They're in the relegation zone at the moment. After the next 6 games, I'd be staggered if they weren't still in the relegation zone. I mean, I can't see many points there. And then they're just going to have to show real resolve in the last few to win some of those big games.
And talking of resolve, they showed fight, didn't they? When you were there in David Moyes' first spell in charge, when you look at the players and the squad that he's got at his disposal, can you see the fight in them to stay safe?
I can. There's not many. My biggest worry is there's not many players in that team that have been in this position before. Unfortunately, I was at West Ham for a long time, and we seem to be in it every season, to be honest with you. And we had the players that were used to, you know, coping with the pressure of playing in front of the West Ham fans and the pressure that brings. But I'm not sure. Obviously, you've got Mark Noble, who, you know, the club means everything. Declan Rice, Robert Snodgrass, lads who are going to really roll their sleeves up and dig in and try and get you out of the position. But I do worry sometimes about the mentality of the team, if you like.
OK, well, let's get some post-match reaction from the City's perspective on today's win. Here's their manager, Pep Guardiola.
Early on your left foot, trying to dance around and get it onto his right foot. So, listen, he's a very good finisher, Jesus. Tonight wasn't his night. I just think it was a couple of bad decisions in front of goal.
Yeah. Now, the one thing Pep Guardiola wanted to see from his players is to find their rhythm, as he said, heading into what is a busy time of the campaign as far as his team's concerned. And some big fixtures, of course, just around the corner. I mean, the game against Leicester is an interesting one because there's already that subplot as to who's going to finish runners-up, as we're all predicting, behind the runaway leaders, Liverpool, before they get into Champions League action. And with all that's going on behind the scenes, of course, there is this impression that they will be doubly enthused and determined to do well against Real Madrid in the Champions League.
Well, if I was a Manchester City player looking at those fixtures and all people talking about doom and gloom at the moment, I would be so excited. Look at that. Leicester, what a game that is. Then you go to the Bernabeu. I mean, any player worth their salt wants to perform against it. Then you've got a cup final. I mean, going to Wembley, playing in a huge game, it's brilliant. And then it's an FA Cup game, so they've still got loads to play for. OK, they're not going to win the league this season, but they've got everything else to play for. There's, you know, games are going to come thick and fast and really important as well between now and the end of the season.
Yeah, and it's a perfect opportunity to take their minds off what's going on off the pitch, if you like. Like you said, some huge games coming up, and like I said, it's an exciting time for all Man City fans.
Yeah, and I just wonder, really, because from Pep Guardiola, he doesn't need to motivate this group of players, does he?
No, and not when you're playing for the biggest prizes in the game. And of course, at the start of this season, Manchester City they are the reigning champions. They have won a lot of Premier Leagues over the years. I think the next step for them as well is to prove that they can do it in Europe. So, you know, he'll be focused on that now. He's almost resigned to losing the title to Liverpool. But European competition is going to be big for them this season.
Yeah, and they know, of course, questions would have been asked, particularly after losing against Tottenham last time round, and should they come unstuck today? But as Michael mentioned, in West Ham, they came at the right time for this City side. Yeah, it did. Like Michael touched on, it was like a training session, to be honest, for long periods for the Man City team, which is probably perfect with such a gap they had before the game, with big games coming up, especially against Madrid at the Bernabeu. You know, that's going to be a tough evening. But like I say, to get back to playing football after so long and give them a bit of confidence and getting some players who've been out injured minutes on the pitch is great for the club. OK. Let's hear from his opposite number today. For David Moyes' West Ham, it's now 1 win in the last 8 in the Premier League. Let's hear from the Scotsman now.
Well, David, how